Good day and welcome to the Lifestyle Show. My name is Mafokate and I'm hanging out with Lebo Gunguluza. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Finally.
Yes, it's finally.
Finally.
Yes, it's finally.
Lebo, I've known you for many years.
It's like more than 30 years, I'm sure. I think it's a long time, Arthur. We've known each other for forever, basically.
But you know what I find funny? You're always smiling. You're always working. Whenever somebody meets you, you're either going to pop out a business card or you're going to talk about this next deal that's about to happen. Why is that?
Yeah, I think I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. Okay, so for me, entrepreneurship has been just a natural phenomenon. So for me, I've always known that, look, as black people, we're on our own. We're not going to wait for the next person to change your trajectory. So if you are born in a shack behind dead people, behind a funeral parlor, and that's your beginning in life.
In fact, that's where I want to start. Because you were born next to a funeral parlor, right?
Yes, in a shack behind a funeral parlor.
At PE,
right.
it's now called
Yes.
Yes, that's where you were born.
Yes.
I always thought you were a Joe Beggar.
No chance.
So can you take it from when Lebo was born? And I'm wondering why the name Lebo if you are from PE.
I'll answer both questions, right? So I was born behind a shack, right? And I was raised by a helper, basically, because my mother was studying in Durban and my father. So they raised me there. And I thought to myself, look, when I asked my question later on in life, okay, if I'm born in a situation like this and other people are born in better places, even if these were born the way because you have no control of where you are born, but at least you have control of where you're going to end up. So I always lived by that motto. So for me, it was very important to say, I want to end up in a better space than where I was put in. So most people always blame parents and blame society. I've never had a blame attitude. I've always known that as black people, we never had favor. We're born in townships, we're born in shacks, but it does not mean that if you are born there, you must stay there. That's the first part. The second part of your answer is that my father was adopted by a Xhosa family. So he was not really Xhosa.
Oh,
but he's
that's where the name comes from.
Yes,
the Lebo name.
He was adopted by a Gunguluza family. So, and my mother was Sotho. So it was a father who's not really Xhosa, but was adopted by a Xhosa family. They met there because my father's family apparently is from the north and around the Botswana area, but we're not too sure about the details.
Hey, when you are my relative, now I'm starting to get what your story is starting to sound like mine now.
Exactly.
Yeah, so because when you start to talk about what's Botswana? Yes, but the Botswana coming from the north, and
and settling in PE. And my mother and side was from Tabanchu, Lesotho, and Bloemfontein area. So that's why most of our relatives are in that area. So what happened is that my mother's grandmother ended up in PE, and my father's family also ended up in PE, so they met there. But we are not Xhosa. Just to give
you. What are they doing in a shack?
You see, what happened is that they were studying, so they had no place yet to stay. So they had me, and they had to put me there in the meanwhile until they got back. But my father, he was studying law. So when he came back to PE, he became one of the most successful lawyers in the Eastern Cape, but then passed away within 3-4 years of practicing.
Yes.
And then I was left with my mother, who was a nurse, who did not do much business at that time. And then it caused a big struggle for us for a very long time, because we were starting to be well off, and suddenly things stopped, and she really struggled very to raise us. So we sort of had to man up and raise ourselves.
But doesn't that affect you where your parents are sort of well off, in the townships,
Yeah.
as long as you can
Yeah.
eat, you can sleep, you have a car that can take you somewhere, we consider you well off. And then suddenly things turn around.
Yes. I mean, I think most of my life actually has been like that, because I've always faced certain tragedies that take me down, up, down, up. And I think that has helped me to build resilience. So sometimes I get attacked, I get crucified.
Where now? And then what do they do to us if they attack you? What do you call what they're doing to us?
So, but there's been many cases, I'm sure you know very well. There's been a lot of
No,
cases.
I'm not even aware. We're going to come back to those. Now you are taking me to another direction. We're going to come back to those. And then where's your schooling? Where does your schooling happen?
So I went to Lesotho to study primary. That's where I got to learn Sotho. And that's how I got to. And that's
So you know Sotho?
Yes.
Are you aware, Lebo? You never really speak any other language with me. It's always been English.
Yeah, because I think when I came to Joburg, everyone was speaking English. But if I end up in
No, you can't say everyone. You were speaking
Most
English.
people speak
You
English.
make us speak English to you. I'm actually shocked. What's about Sotho?
Yeah, it's about Sotho. It's about West
Hey, Banda.
for that matter. Yeah. It's something surprising.
Arbo Sotho anyani. I'm actually shocked.
Yeah.
Gunguluza, that speaks Sotho.
And obviously, because I come from PN, because it's Xhosa actually.
Yes.
So
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah, I think I tend to Xhosa now, but obviously my Xhosa now is a bit crooked now, because I've been stuck with you guys for such a long time that everything of mine is a mix up.
Primarily Sotho and then high
So
school?
primarily Sotho, and then what you call secondary school or whatever, mid school, was Eastern Cape Rural. So I never got exposed to English at all. Like literally from that time, it was rural Lesotho, rural Eastern Cape. I only got exposed to English when I went to high school, because there were so many boycotts.
And where is that?
In the Eastern Cape, Woodbridge College.
Okay, in Eastern Cape.
Yeah, because what happened is that there were boycotts. So as we boycotted, I had to repeat classes 3 times. I had to repeat the same class 3 times. So my mother, because my father passed away, so when my father passed away, there was funds that were ready for me for university through some insurance, what. And then what my mother did, she requested that money take me to a private school. And that's when I got exposed to English. But because I didn't know how to speak English well, they made me repeat again another class.
For 3 years.
So I repeated classes 4 times.
And how do you end up in Joburg then? After repeating class so many times?
So what happened is that when I was at high school, Woodbridge, I could not speak English. So I committed myself that whoever I interact with at that school, I'm going to speak English all the way. I'm not going to speak any other language. And I think that thing has disadvantaged me later in life, because I got caught up in that culture. Now, even at university, I ended up speaking English a lot more, and post-university, I ended up speaking English a lot more. So I got used to that, but it disadvantaged me later, because then at university, I met people now who are very flexible in talking their language, but because I was traumatized by repeating classes so many times,
you didn't want to make a mistake anymore.
I wanted to really know this English, and then I did a competition in grade 11, where they asked us, it was actually multi-choice. They made us write an essay that says, if you had to use a number of channels in South Africa, how would you go about it? So we all had to write in that essay, and there were 10,000 young people from all over South Africa. And you must remember, I only learned English in grade 9. And this thing was happening in grade 11. And I made myself familiar with English. So at grade 11, we all submitted, 10,000 of us. The results came back on who wrote the best essay, and I was number 1 in the entire country, over 10,000 young people. So, so that sort of like gave me an idea that I've got some talent. I was not aware I've got some talent. So that talent was obviously communication, but also in language, right? To some extent. So when I Actually, I won a decoder and some 10,000 randanyana, which was very good because that time things were not easy. And then they brought me to Joburg to give me the prize. That was the first time I got to Joburg, and they took me back again. And then I went now to University of Natal to go study law. So I studied law, I finished law, but even there, because my mother had taken that money from university, from used to put me through, I had to hustle myself to university. I did a couple of things, I worked, I did all sorts of things to get myself into university until I finished my law degree. After my law degree, I came to Joburg. If you want to ask me when I came to Joburg. Yeah. And because I had done so well, I had 3 job offers. And then instead of taking a job offer...
But did you complete your studies?
Yes, I did my law degree, yeah. So, and then I did, and then I got my 3 offers. So instead of going to law now to do law, I was... had an option to go to SABC, Cadbury, and FNB.
So you applied to all these people?
Yes. And I got accepted to a number of these options.
So now you have to choose.
I chose SABC. Yeah. So that's what introduced me to media and entertainment and to
But what do you do at SABC?
I was selling advertising.
Oh, okay.
That's how my life started in media. So that I started by selling advertising for all the radio stations, especially the African language stations. And then that's when I got to understand other languages. And then that's when I then started here. Your songs now. So that's when I started hearing your songs, because now I was promoting you guys. I was telling people about the new culture of Kwaito, etc., etc. Started getting to know you guys very well.
You become a show promoter.
Yeah. Then from that African language stations, I then moved to Metro FM. As a brand manager, and then as a marketing manager. That's when I got to know all the Kwaito artists very well. I got involved with you guys, I was Guido and everyone else. And then after that, I wanted to understand broadcasting as a whole. So I went overseas for about a month to just study broadcasting, because I wanted to increase my...
Where overseas?
In Washington.
Okay.
So I went there just to study a bit of broadcasting, but I came back, and then on my way back, I got recruited by Head Boys Advertising, and then I worked for Head Boys Advertising.
You was leading Head Boys.
More Hair Pinching
and them. But it was not him alone. There was another. Yes.
Vundla.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Vundla's brother, the one who did Generations. So I worked with them after that. And then after that, I went to clubs, because I realized that I was forming a good relationship with brands like our SA Brewery and all of that.
Let me ask you a question before you proceed.
Yeah.
Looking at advertising then,
yes,
and advertising now,
yeah,
and looking at those gurus like your Happy Njingilas, remember they were not dependent on
social
BEs and all these things.
Yeah.
They were actually going there as black companies influencing white companies, and having to compare Head Boys and, our modern, I'm running an advertising agency now, but having to compare then and now.
So there was a lot of curiosity from white agencies about the black market. So we used to have terms for the black market. So these things of the
LSM 1 up to 5,
those
up to 3.
Those are new things.
Yeah, they came through that era.
But before, it was like the black market, the anti-market.
So the township market. And then suddenly there were LSMs.
Suddenly were the LSMs. But
so when you got in, LSMs were not yet introduced.
They were not there when we got introduced to the space. And also, we had a lot of teaching about the black market, about how they behave, what they like, because advertising agencies were predominantly white. So we're the first black-owned advertising agencies.
That's why I'm saying most of us were inspired by Head Boys.
Exactly.
And, I would love to hear stories on how they actually made it during that era. As to compare now, everybody
does
an
advantage, because at that time, most white executives respected them for what they did. So they were like the gurus of the black market. So every other brand wanted to engage with them to understand the black market. That's why they could draw interest from brands. And also when I was appointed, because I was marketing at Metro, my first task was to win the Metro FM account. So they said, you are running Metro FM in terms of marketing. We're a black agency. Why is Metro FM account being handled by some white agency? So then they said to me, your first job is to win that account. So that was my first job to do.
Beautiful task.
It was a beautiful task.
Challenging.
And I won it.
Nice one.
And they increased my salary. So it was nice. Then I had SA Brewery, Hush Puppies, a couple of accounts. But what I realized that there was a huge opportunity in South Africa, because I was getting a lot of alcohol from SA Brewery. So I used to throw a lot of parties at my house, because you get a lot of free alcohol. So I used to stay in Kelvin, and my house was biggish there, because now I was making a bit of money. So I put a lot of alcohol there, and then I used to throw parties every weekend. I thought, these people are enjoying this alcohol for free. I think I must charge these people.
Yeah.
So I went to go look for a place in Ilovo, like an empty restaurant, club, whatever. I approached those guys and I said, look, I've got a huge crowd, and I want to bring them to your establishment, because I can see you're not doing well, but I want to charge them. They said, okay, because you're not doing well anyway, it's fine. So I went into a deal with them.
And you turned that place around.
It was the hottest club ever at that time.
Yeah.
And it was the first club in the
that era.
Yeah, in Sandton, because all the clubs were at Hillbrow, Braamfontein. So I was the first person to bring clubbing experience for black people in the Sandton area. So it blew up, because people had never seen something like this. And then there was a DJ, his name was Tish Metes.
Yes.
He was a Metro FM,
guys.
He was a Metro FM DJ. Then I
think it was 5 FM.
5 FM.
5 FM.
He saw
was good.
Exactly. So he saw this guy. He's making lots of money with this club, and he started opening a club just up the road. So my clients were very excited by like a DJ-owned club.
Yeah.
So I lost them. They went this way.
Yeah.
Now
that's the thing with clubs.
I've
been in the club business for quite some time, and in Gauteng.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that certain clubs can even go beyond 12 months.
Yeah, but I think
in Joburg you have to run it and then go change the name.
Yeah, change the name. And
if you don't change the name, change the venue.
Yeah.
I've been in the clubbing business as well.
It's crazy, that business. So that business was stressing me, because I've also, remember, it was Insomnia, and then there was one in Sunning Hill that I opened, and then there was one...
what's the one in Sunning Hill?
Yeah, I remember that.
La Fekonyen,
yeah,
the Rivonia Road there.
Like, you cannot believe. So I've opened some of the biggest clubs at that time, and then after that, I decided, you know what, the clubbing business is stressing me. And I made a deal with myself that by 25, I want to become a millionaire. So I said to myself, no, this clubbing business is not going to take me to that space very quickly. So I did that event called the Kwaito Storm. Remember? Yeah.
Yes.
So the Kwaito Storm was in partnership with...
But that was huge.
Yes.
With Smirnoff, ne?
With Smirnoff.
Yes.
That was me, right there, with Thabo Stefan.
Yes, I know there were white people as well.
Because I went to go, they were doing some white events there.
Yes, in fact, they used to do white events, and then suddenly they are quiet, and then we are thinking, who brought these guys into... Yes. But that was huge.
Massive event. So we came up with a thing called a Kwaito Storm at that place in
Park Station.
Yeah, Park Station.
People don't know. They see Park Station, they see trains going there. They don't know that was our party place.
That was our party place. And I forgot this. It was such a long time. So that's where I made my first million. With that gig, because YFM gave me like some $500,000 worth of airtime, and I used that to barter to get people on board and all of that.
But those kind of events, guys, were huge.
They were huge. We had 15,000 people. 15,000 people, and after that I tried to do.
And I think it was underground, because it was at the parking station.
There was the one that
it was an old station, and then they made us go underground.
There was those underground, but there was that venue that way I
Yes.
did the Kwaito Storm. I still remember my flyer, but I don't have it here with me. But Fresh, DJ Fresh actually sent me that flyer. And remember, I that time I was managing DJ Fresh, Fat Joe, I was managing Abo, Andile, and so I took all the artists that.
So what you
I was
do? You get
managing.
1 million rand.
Eh?
What you do after getting 1 million rand? Remember, money makes you big-headed.
I was financially illiterate that time. It was my first ever 1.5 million to make. I was completely illiterate about
And
how
that
to
was
make
then.
That was then.
Imagine 1 million rand then.
Yeah.
I think it was 97 or 98.
Oh, it was fine.
Or
It was a long
96,
time. Yeah,
somewhere.
just around 97, 98, yeah. So I was one of the youngest people to make that kind of money. And then there was interest from a couple of television channels that said, yo, we see that you're driving a Porsche. You are so young to drive a Porsche. There's no black guy who's driving a Porsche in Joburg, and you are so young. Because I bought a Porsche and I tried to set up a studio so that I can also record artists, because I wanted artists to record with me instead of other people. I did not know what I was doing, so I lost a lot of money there. But within a year I was broke. Yeah, I was completely broke.
Yeah.
I was.
And
stuck
which
with no
year is
money.
this? Around?
Yeah, around those 1999, 90 what.
Late 90s.
Yeah, I was like. Then I went to go get a place. I stayed squatted with my cousin brother there, who was
And
working.
you're jobless now.
Yeah, I was jobless and I was broke. So I went to CNA to go read about how to sustain money, how to be rich again, all of that. So I read books.
So
from
are
Richard
you
Branson.
also one of those that used to go to CNA and bookstores to read
And I'd be
business
chased away.
books? Yes,
And
me
I'd be
too.
chased away, go change clothes,
Yes.
come back, read again, chased. Because I wanted to know what's the difference between myself and your Richard Branson and your
And there would be a section of business books, and then there's
I want to
leadership.
read, yes.
And
then
you
what-
go to leaderships, you think, this ones are too depressing.
too depressing.
Yeah, no.
So-
I just want to understand, how do I make money?
How do I retain the money?
Yes.
How do I get better? So I learned a couple of lessons, which some of the lessons I do share in my book, even though they're old lessons, but I do share them in my book. They are
we
different
need to
books.
go
Yeah.
deep into this, but
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand the person that
Yeah.
Lebo is, because
So-
a lot of people
yeah.
would say, why is he being interviewed? Who is he?
Yeah.
And you have inspired a lot of us in
Of
business. I
course.
mean, people don't understand that you made me sit with Cyril Ramaphosa because before he was a president.
Yes.
I was sitting with the late President de Klerk,
Yes.
and I had to receive an award that
Yes.
was given by Cyril Ramaphosa.
that's-
People don't even know those
I'll
things,
come to
and
where-
you made it happen.
I'll come to where I brought you on board.
Yeah.
Because the people don't know this history, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is that when I learned what I learned in those books, and then because I could see that the entertainment market was very fickle, so you'd spend money and the people don't pitch up, so I thought this is very unstable. So I made a decision that from those books that corporate is a bit more stable, people pay you in advance, and, right? So I read and I realized that they said there are certain things that I learned in the book that made me think differently about business. And obviously one of them is that you've got to have sustainable clientele, and you've got to have repeat clientele that also pays you upfront, that trusts you, and that trusts your business. Now, a club guy who comes to a club is going to get drunk next to you, is not going to feel like going to you again. So it's a different type of mentality. So what happened is that I then decided, let me go and own media, because I wanted to own something that I already have an understanding with. So I knew that radio, I can't own radio, it's too expensive. I can't own television, it's too expensive. I thought, at least a magazine, people pay you upfront.
You had a magazine as well.
I produced magazines for years.
Yes.
So I produced, I went to a company called Penta Publications to go learn how a magazine is run, because ultimately I wanted to have my own magazine. So they had Tribute magazine, they had those kind of magazines. So I went there to learn. And I told myself that, okay,
You
I'm gonna
remember how respected Tribute magazine was?
Listen, it was the best black magazine.
excellence.
That's why I'm big on black excellence, because I've always been in places where black excellence has prevailed. That's why I push black excellence even today, because I know we're excellent like that. It's just that some of us are not given the right tools to be at that level of excellence. But I think these days things are leveling up. So I went there. I did not go there to go for a job. I went there to learn how to put a magazine together. Then when I was there, I discovered other things that you can actually, from selling advertising, you can also sell a corporate table where people can attend an event. So I did the first Tribute Awards. Wow, it was packed. I said, no, this formula I've got. Quit. Started my own company. I did my first awards, the Soweto Awards, because I knew that I don't want to do Tribute Awards. I want to do something that speaks, and that's a global brand. And Soweto was a global brand. So I partnered with the guys that stay in Soweto, Ruben and Mr. Zikalala. I said, I want to put these awards together. Yes. I partnered with them. I said, let's put these awards together. I know the exact formula on how to do these things. Do you know that we had 1,400 people in those awards? And the first award
was where? The place?
Sandton Convention Center.
Then?
Yes. We were the first black major event at Sandton Convention Center. 1,004. The top of the top echelons were Kaiser with Daung, we were awarding them, and we also invited you to come. And then I missed him.
I don't know, I think you were very smart in choosing the brand Soweto. Yes. And I think that's what made everybody from white to black, everybody to be interested.
To the awards.
You know.
Yes. We had all the companies buying tables there. So I understood the formula. So I hosted the Soweto Awards. It was the biggest event at that time. And then there were politics about why this award is happening in Sandton. But they didn't know that I'm chasing after white money. I wanted white money to host a big black thing. You understand? And that thing made
you can't take them there. You have to bring them.
The white people are scared to go to the church at that time.
I remember.
So Vuvuzela was there giving awards, and I think I wanted him to perform the following year. And then the following year, I wanted more people. Then I started the Eastern Cape Awards. Then I started
But wait a minute. Awards. Soweto Awards were very credible. Even though somebody broke my award, I think the leg, the guy, it's Makubone, killing Hector Peterson.
Yeah.
So the leg is like broken a bit.
Yeah. So
you must come fix it.
Was Hector Peterson, I think, holding.
That's why I value that award so much. I mean,
thank you so much.
It's even in my sitting room now as we speak. I value it so much.
I wish you had brought it here.
But why did you stop the Soweto Awards?
Okay, so when we did the awards, now there were a whole lot of politics. Why is it in Sandton and all of that? But by that time, my partners, there was also a power struggle in between with my partners, and also there were politics. And I thought, you know what, let me leave the politics and let me tone down. Let me start the Eastern Cape Awards. So the Eastern Cape Awards ran for a good 9 years.
But wouldn't you say also, you are just like me, you easily get bored?
Yes.
You are way too creative for repetition of the same thing. If it's not funded, why not try something else?
Exactly. So I think for me,
so you went to the.
I did the Soweto. After the Soweto, I did the Eastern Cape Awards, and I did the thing, and then I proposed the Metro FM Awards to the then.
The Eastern Cape. How many years did they run for?
For 9 years.
Oh, at least there you sustained.
Yes.
9 years in Ghana.
So
9 years in Ghana, at least.
9 years in Ghana. So then I decided, let me introduce that previous, before Romeo Kumalo, there was Mr. Mapipa, who was the Metro FM manager at that time. I introduced him, why don't you do the Metro FM Awards? Because I know the formula. So I presented it, and the person who then took on it, I think Romeo or Leslie. Yeah. Leslie, I'm not sure who. Then someone activated the Metro FM Awards, because I used to work for Metro FM.
Yes.
So I thought, why not propose?
Because you are now used to these awards things.
That's how the Metro FM Awards came. But someone obviously packaged it and repackaged it, and it came to Metro FM Awards. And then later on in life, I then proposed to do the Metro FM Awards magazine.
Yes, you would give it to us.
I produced magazines for the Metro FM Awards, for the SAFTAs, for all the different award ceremonies in the country. And I think most people don't know this story about me, But that's how I built a very big brand. Then I went to Dragon's Den after that space of the media. And then I went to Dragon's Den. So Dragon's Den then got me involved into what you call investment.
Which is where you are right now. Oh, you've already moved again.
Yes.
Because whether you move, whether you don't stay.
So
and you also had another one. Was it GEM?
Yeah. So
GEM Group or something.
Yeah.
I still have the business card.
Gunguluza Enterprises and Media Group, because I started media, but then I wanted to invest in a variety of enterprises. So as part of that opportunity, I started a thing called 12-12-12. But that came after a while.
What's 12-12-12?
I would recruit 12 entrepreneurs to invest in them and build them for 12 months to run 12 companies. It was part of my social responsibility.
Because every time somebody says 12-12-12, I think of my daughter. She was born 2012, the 12th of the 12th month.
That's actually crazy. That's when I actually launched 12-12-12.
So you must bring back that concept.
What an amazing thing. So on the 12th December 2012, that's when I launched the 12-12-12 program.
And that's when my daughter was born.
Can you imagine, guys? So we were both
I told you, me and you.
WhatsApp group. So yeah, and I think for me, it was to empower, because I just felt that I wanted to share my experience in building businesses to 12 entrepreneurs over 12 months each when they ran 12 companies. And that's when I came up with the 12-12-12. And I did that for 5 years. Okay, I invested a couple of millions in it. I think about 8.6 million in the program over those 5 years. By that time, I was a Dragon.
What's Dragon about?
Dragon's Den. So Dragon's Den is when people pitch ideas to us and then we'd invest into their businesses.
Okay.
And the only reason why they invited me there is because I had already been on 12-12-12. I had already started the 12-12 program. So I was already looking for young people to put on my 12-12-12 program, and I was investing in them. So they thought, this guy is already doing this thing, he might as well do the show. And obviously,
so the show was on TV as well?
The show was on TV.
Okay.
Or on, was it Mzansi Magic or something like that? Yeah. You can still see snippets of it on...
I'm going to search for it.
On YouTube. You can just say Dragon's Den, Lebo Gunguluza, you'll see some of the shows. So I was with Vusi Tembekwayo there, Gil Ovid, Vinnie Lingham, and Pululi Teka. So we were the first Dragons in South Africa, and then it was Shark Tank after that. So, but the idea there was amazing, because we started the culture of pitching. So, so it was a very good experience, and it gave.
Do you love pitching? Exposure. Because pitching can be
people pitch to us. People used to pitch to us, but these days the culture of pitching has grown.
The thing is, with all the things that you have done, all of them are about pitching. Yeah, and I'm asking you this question because it can be very painful and strenuous as well.
Yeah, because you pitch, and what if you don't win?
Or you pitch and your ideas used, know it's your idea.
Yeah, it's exactly. So it happens, and people used to ask us a lot those days, if I'm pitching, what if somebody else steals my idea? Then you have no control. But I've always said to people that, you see, everyone has got ideas in the world. Even drunkards in the tavern, they'll tell you of 20,000 ideas, because ideas are just ideas, and ideas are everywhere. The problem with ideas is that if you don't have a strategy for great execution, then idea is useless. So execution is much more powerful than the idea. So we can both have the same idea, but if I execute,
I like calling it implementation.
Execution, yeah.
You can think about things, because all of us think about things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
But the sooner you execute it.
Yeah, I always say to people, God brings the ideas to the world like this, probably around the same time. You'll find that 20, 30 people have got the same idea. And that's why they always say, there's no original idea in the world. You could think of something that you think is great, Google it, trust me, some guy in London, some guy is already running with it. So ideas come to the world like this from the higher above. And then the quicker you execute, the quicker you'll have the benefit of that idea. But that's why even things like Mark Zuckerberg, it's because they executed quickly.
Yeah.
That's why you find that they're at the forefront.
I mean, if you look at your Facebook.
Yes.
There used to be something called Mix It and
About
whatever.
space,
Space. What happened to space?
There's a lot, but it's all about execution.
And when you look at it, people would think, no, Facebook and them were, but there used to be space. There used to be.
Exactly. And also people have got lots of music ideas. There's so many songs that are out there that get produced every year. So I always say to people, there's three things. It's strategy. You know, you need to have strategy. You need to have structure. You know, so if you don't have a structure around what you do, so the nice thing about you is that you always had structure. Then you have to have systems. So if you don't have a system,
so
the way
it's
things are
strategy,
done,
structure,
and systems.
systems.
Yeah. So if you don't have those three things, it's difficult to execute, because then who executes?
So let's break it down nicely so that people that are here can actually understand what you're saying.
So when you have a business, right, if the idea is such that it has to get to a certain level, you need to put a group of people that must execute. That means that is structure. So you need to have the person who heads the team, the person who's technical, the person. So you have to have structure that is built to execute that. Then after that, you have. So
you started with the strategy.
Yeah.
You create the structure.
No. You start with strategy. Okay. And then you set up structure. Yes. And then you set up systems. So strategy is to say, where are you going? What is this about? You refine the focus, because without a strategy, you can't focus. You'll be all over the place. So you have to have strategy first to say, this is where I'm going. Because sometimes in life, like for example, one of my businesses is called Lux and Pie. Now, we sell tickets for a living. Okay. Now, we could sell any tickets. We could sell general tickets, we could sell VIP tickets, we could sell sports tickets, we could sell any tickets. But you have to have a focal area and say, this is what we are doing and this is what we're going to stick to. So we specialize strictly in VIP ticketing. And we also have sectors that we sell. We sell for sports, music, and hospitality space only. So you have to refine where your strength is at. And you have to be very focused, because if you're not focused, you're going to be everywhere and you're not going to make money. And you need to know exactly how the money is going to be made. That's the strategy. Then after you have strategy, then you put people in place to support that strategy. Now, people are temporary. People come and go. So that's a problem. So if people come and go, that means you must do what? You must automate, which means a system. That means that if so-and-so was working in the accounts department and they get sick, or God forbid anything happens to them, the system must be able to carry on without that person. In fact, the system of your business must carry on even without Arthur. There is no way the system, a company.
I love what you just said. I love what you just said. I say that every day to guys. I say to them every day that, guys, what if something happens to me?
Exactly, because you put a system in place.
Because but these people, why are they stopping the vision? Why are they stopping the dream?
You must be able to go to London for 3-4 weeks. But you come back, the company still runs.
Yes.
And what white people have done, they've done that systems. Very well. They've put systems and automation in place. And
so meaning, actually, systems is supposed to even be number 2.
No, but you see, you have to have people that have to implement first. You understand?
But wouldn't system then fall under strategy?
Yeah, no. There's different.
Or they alternate.
Yeah, they alternate, because there's variables in between. But the most important thing is that once you put certain people, like for example, it's difficult to have system if you don't know that this is what you need. Do you get what I'm saying? So strategy has to come first, because you need to know what you need first before you can appoint the right technical guy to put that system and to automate.
Are you trying to tell me all these things are in this book?
They're all in there.
The art of entrepreneurship.
You understand? So those 3 S's, not the S's.
Mastering the journey from idea to impact.
Exactly, to impact. Because also business, must remember, business is not always about profit. The reason why you are in business is to make a change. Like there's a very good example about Richard Branson. Richard Branson was treated very badly on the British Airways. Right? And then it decided, you know what? I'm going to start my own airline, and my own airline must have 1, 2, 3, because British Airways lacks that. So he then started an airline because he was frustrated with British Airways. So sometimes when you are starting a business, you are trying to resolve social ills. You are trying to fill in gaps that are not
In
there.
fact, what you just mentioned, I say it all the time, in this room, that a business exists to solve problems.
A problem, yes. And
People don't understand. They think a business, you create it to make profit.
No.
Firstly, it's to solve a problem.
Exactly.
Where is the problem?
Exactly.
Why do you have the lifestyle league when there are so many online platforms? What makes you create that?
Yeah.
I'm seeing a gap, and the gap is there are game changers like Lebo Gunguluza that are not documented.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we see is when
What
people are
say.
bashed,
Exactly.
or
People
when
are
it's a
bashed.
laughing matter,
Exactly.
or when it's comedy. But
Exactly.
how do we change people's lives?
Exactly.
Because you're trying to solve that problem.
So you are changing. You are changing the problem of narrative. So you want to change people a narrative of certain entrepreneurs, because people create their own views and own narratives, which sometimes are extremely incorrect. But when you are saying, let's correct that, because let's give people a platform.
Let's not worry about numbers. The numbers will come.
They will
There
come
is
by
a big
themselves.
market out there of sensible people that understands what they need.
Exactly.
And there's clients out there
That's
that know what they want.
Yes.
And why are we not documenting game
Exactly.
changers?
And I think what's important, I think, more than anything else, is that Africa has got so many problems. So that's where entrepreneurship should be thriving. That's why the art of entrepreneurship needs to be out there, the book, because if you don't have the entrepreneurial culture in you, how can you solve the problems? So you need to have that entrepreneurial culture in you in order to solve the problems. So when you're an entrepreneur, rightfully so, Arthur, is that you are going to solve Africa's problems. So this book is supposed to instigate that thought process.
But the bravery of having such a book, the beauty about it is you've done so many businesses.
Yes.
And some of us are testimony to your journey.
Yes.
But then how do you convince a person who doesn't know who Lebo Gunguluza is?
Because of social media these days, the focus sometimes changes with people. I mean, I've always been a celebrated entrepreneur because I've come up with so many things that I've just mentioned to you. From one
and you
award
mentioned,
to another,
you've had other awards as well that you didn't even mention.
Exactly.
The ones you held at Empress Palace.
That's it.
I actually received 2 awards from you.
Exactly.
Where you were giving us, it was Oskidos and them
That's
as well.
it. I did some awards of that nature. So I've did a number of awards. I've did a couple of publications. I've done a lot of conferences and obviously
produce books, magazines,
mainly magazines, as I won on the
promoted
on the thing. And I think people sometimes they want to now, since now you are the good story, where is the bad? And then unfortunately in my life, everyone has a journey in life, right? And unfortunately in the journey in your life, there will be those elements where you go down, up, that I've faced all the time. But I think there's a phase where you go through the most because of certain personal issues that emerge because of an opportunity that you thought you were taking, like the whole thing of the Real Housewives. But that shifted the focus from people seeing me as an excellent entrepreneur, where people doubted who I am. Okay, that's the first part. And then the second part is that when then I was trying to introduce technology and e-commerce in South Africa, the power of e-commerce in South Africa, then in the process, after my wedding in Mauritius, I got attacked by a minister that says, what business does even Lebo Gunguluza run? How is he a millionaire? I mean, I've never gone out of my way to say what I said.
So you had your wedding in Mauritius?
Yes. And then when I came back now, because I realized that globally the world is moving towards online and e-commerce, and I wanted now to empower young people because we don't have capital, we don't have resources.
But how's Real Housewives affecting you?
No, in the sense that it shifted the focus of the public towards my personal life more than my gifted space, which is entrepreneurship and building,
You know why I'm asking you this question? or maybe I'm condemned.
Yes.
I'm at a point where I don't believe anything. You say good things about me, I don't believe. You say bad things about me, I don't believe. So I'm unaffected by anything.
So when you are running through a system that I like to,
You are like to say to adopt.
That I have adopted a while ago, because you see, there's a very simple system that says they criticize you, you work. They judge you, you work. They blemish your name, you work. Ultimately, your work will speak for itself, no matter what they've threshed around.
Like, you know, when you say you're such what? Okay, thank you, but like, because then it might get into my head and change the person that I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I'm supposed to be that humble person that was assisted by the public to be where I need to be.
I'm into AI now. I'm into technology. I want you guys to zoom into this quickly, right? And it answers exactly what you are trying to say about what people say about you and what they think about you. Because at the end of the day, what they think about you is none of your problem. Because if they have certain issues about you, it's not your problem to deal with their fears.
Even AI makes mistakes. Even AI sometimes.
I want to see if I can play this, and I'm hoping that your guys who've got the video, they can listen to this. This is AI, because I'm very big on AI. This it says it's so. In fact, what I'll do, I'll give it to you so you guys can play. It says the more they throw at you, the stronger you become.
But can't we just listen to it?
Yes, we can. We can.
Let's listen to it.
Because I think it will inspire a lot of you guys here. Okay? So...
It's next to your microphone, so don't worry.
Yeah,
it will hear you.
Let's play it.
Just play it.
The truth is, the more they throw at you, the stronger you become. The path to success is never without resistance, and hate is just a part of that journey. Understand this. No one who ever achieved anything great did it without facing opposition. Hate comes from a place of fear, insecurity, and jealousy. People hate because your ambition and your drive makes them uncomfortable, and your desire to push past limits threatens the comfort they built around mediocrity. So what should you do? Let them hate. Let their words be nothing more than background noise. You were not put here to seek their approval, and you're not living your life to make them feel comfortable. You're here to follow your purpose, to chase your dreams, and to live life on your own terms. I am Lebo Gunguluza, the breakthrough entrepreneur, author of the Art of Entrepreneurship book, and the chairman of the GEM Group of companies.
So that video that you see there, I created by AI. I was never in the studio.
And sometimes people just hate your guts.
Yeah.
Because you're a brave man. If Lebo has done 7 businesses before I could even start mine,
exactly.
Why should I like him?
How many people have hated on Arthur?
Me, I don't care. They know me like you. Honestly, you're wasting time. Like, use your energy on something, empower yourself, do something for your family.
Yeah.
Where's that thing? Like,
you know what we're doing, Arthur, between me and you, because we have both been exposed to so much hate in between things. What we're doing here is that there's a boy sitting at home who's doing very well.
You need to inspire that boy.
And that community is hating on him. And he's confused whether should I be carrying on with this thing or not. On. Because now he's scared that he's going to receive more hate. And the unfortunate part is that he gives up because he thinks, no, people don't like me.
Lebo, I tell them every day, lunchtime I was working for just a quarter or a plate of food.
Yeah.
Because I knew if I don't carry stuff into somebody's shop and help them, I wasn't going to eat at the end of the day. And it's a fact. It's not like I'm making up that story. I can bring Kokos and Bunkhunu that have been there during that era to come and attest to what I've been through. So where I am now, it's through God. And it's through the motivation of other people that came before me. So I need to inspire people. Hence, this is very important.
So Arthur, at this point in time in your life and in your way of thinking, you are now at a level where you're unstoppable. They say that there's no one who's more dangerous in the world than a person who moves mountains, even though there's all the storms in the world. that are facing and are coming for him. That they say there's no more powerful. So Arthur at this point in time of his life is very dangerous because he's going to achieve way beyond what people expect him to achieve. And a very simple example of that was who? Donald Trump. The guy was shot at, but he kept moving. He didn't say, people are trying to shoot me, let me go hide. No.
Because the fact of the matter is, you live once.
That's it. Because he knew his purpose.
Guys, you live once, like once. I need to make the best of today so that if anything happens tonight, people can always say, yo, but did you see that last interview he did?
Exactly my point. So that's why I say, I think Donald Trump is a primary example of being unstoppable. That's why he was dangerous. And then when he reached the top of being a president, he's even more dangerous than before. Because now people fear him now and respect him too much because they know what he's been through to get to where he was. And other people, the problem is that they give up. When there's a storm, they give up. That's why I say to people, if at any point in time you want me to invest in your business as an entrepreneur, there's 5 things that I need from you. Because I'm not going to, at any point in time in life, I'm trying to protect my money as an investor. So I always say, firstly, you have to make sure that your idea that you are coming with is firstly an idea that is unique and different from everyone else. Because if you are doing something similar to everyone else, people are going to come after you. Secondly, there must be systems in place to support that idea or technologies in place to support that idea so that if anything happens to you, that idea still lives on beyond you. Thirdly, your target market must move beyond borders. I don't want to invest in a business where if you say I'm opening a tuck shop here, right? This is only the limited amount of people that I can reach. I want your idea to reach other parts of the world. That's why a podcast like this, even if it makes money, like you make cheese, it reaches anywhere of the world. It's not limited to a locality. So your idea must not be limited to a locality.
Which takes me back to what you spoke about e-commerce.
E-commerce. That's why I was obsessed with e-commerce because it's not local. That's why Jeff Bezos is one of the richest men in the world because his platform goes way beyond borders. It reaches you in South Africa, it reaches you anywhere in the world. That's why I can make as much money. But the most important one is that you, the jockey, the entrepreneur, when you get slapped, when people are chasing after you, when you're facing all those challenges, I don't want you to collapse. Because if you collapse, then I lose my money. So I am there to protect my money as an investor. So I want you, if Arthur is starting this business, he better not collapse if I put 100,000 behind this thing. He must do whatever it takes to build it to a level where I get my money back and beyond. And the business must live beyond him.
Yo, guys. Yo, I'm stunned and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, people might be sitting there thinking, okay, he's got this book, right? But where is he going to sell this book? How is he going to sell this book? This book obviously reflects his journey. I'm inspired by his journey. But where do I get this book?
Okay, so the book hardly talks about me, by the way. So the book, probably only 3 pages talk about me because I don't want the focus to be about me. Okay, I want the book to focus on the tools that create great entrepreneurs that make impact. So the book talks about a variety of things. It talks about how to build a strong team. Remember, part of structure, how to build a strong team, how to use technology, how to leverage technology to build your business, how to leverage AI to build your business, how to give back. Because when you give back to your community, you receive more love and there's a spiritual element to it. Okay, so there's a lot of factors that are in the book that discuss things that build you as a person. How do you build your personal brand? You know, how do you, against all odds, you still continue when things are failing? How do you continue? So the book talks about all of those things. Now, for me, the strategy with the book is not to put it your is what you call it, the book places, what do you call it? Your
bookstores.
Your bookstores. No, that's not my strategy. Remember, I spoke about strategy. It's not my strategy. My strategy is very simple. My book must reach as many ESD managers that can give it and buy it on behalf of entrepreneurs who can afford to buy it. The book must reach as many of the youth in university so they can read about this book, so that when they leave university, they can at least start their own businesses if they're not getting jobs.
I like what you're saying, because there's this book that business students all over the country read.
Yeah.
And I think it was written by, it's either white guy or white guys in the country. So you see...
Robert Kiyosaki.
I was about to come to Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
But you see this one being that one. The one I'm talking about is a South African version.
Oh, it's a South African.
Robert Kiyosaki's model is very brilliant. And I always say to people, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's not actually selling property. He's selling a book. Exactly. He's selling motivation.
Yeah, he's
selling a certain vision.
Yeah.
And people look at him and think he's just selling property.
Maybe he sells financial literacy. I think I would say
exactly.
More. Yeah.
Because once you start going to other books,
he always explains concepts of financial, how to acquire an asset, how to sell, how not to lose, how not to do this. So he's at that level, right? So and I think it's a good book, because financial literacy is what made me get into trouble.
You're right. All of us get into trouble because of that. So would you consider yourself a business, we would call them motivational speaker, but it's not,
I'm just an entrepreneur on a mission to empower African entrepreneurs.
Yes, because I was going to say that I think that's the route you should take.
Yeah, so that's my mission. So whoever says whatever, I don't even care. But I don't even care about the car I drive these days. I don't care about anything. I'm just an entrepreneur who's on a mission to empower African entrepreneurs. I'm on a mission to change the African trajectory. We are the last in line when it comes to wealth building, when it comes to generational wealth, when it comes to legacy. If you look at any entrepreneur like that has been rich in the township, what happens to him is that when he passes away, when people are crying at a funeral, they're not crying because they've lost this thing. They're crying because they also are not getting anything out of this person, because everything was on his name. It was not under the company.
I'm glad you're mentioning that.
Yeah.
I said that in some group and people were offended.
No.
I said, I know of the Maponyas.
Yes.
I know of the Kunenes.
Yeah.
I know of the Kozas.
Yeah.
I know of the Mutsepes.
Yeah.
I know of the Mutawuns. Out of these few, how many more can you mention that can be sustainable beyond? Because I don't even know how these ones would fare should the founders...
So let me give you an idea here. I think it's very important that everyone that's here understands what's going on. You see, Jewish people have got a very focused on what you call generational wealth. Okay? So even when they gift you, when you get married, Tina, we give our people and they get married couches, chairs, whatever. But they gift you with stocks, they gift you with businesses. They say, Jonathan, now you are married, take over this business. We've been running this business one generation after another. So when you take over that business, you're not taking a business and putting it in your name. No, you are running the business. But the ownership is on a trust, is owned by a trust that provides a generational opportunity. So you are taking a business to run it. That's why you'll find that in London, you'll see these guys have been shoemakers forever. And that shoemaker business moves one generation after another because they've got what you call a legacy program. So if that business is generating 100 million, the other one takes it over, the kids are learning to be better CAs and better what, they take the business to the next level. The next generation takes the business until it becomes a Gucci, until it becomes a Louis Vuitton, until it becomes whatever over the years. So it's difficult to build a global brand over one generation.
Difficult, very difficult. Or even if you can do it on one generation, the sustainability But then how do you change that amongst blacks?
So part of the book talks about that. We talk about
which chapter is that?
Intergeneration, the last one.
Okay.
The last
Yes,
one.
yes.
It talks about a zero loss strategy, which means building generational wealth. How to build, that means how to set up your business so that it's not recorded on your name.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is that most of us, we're obsessed with ownership. Hey, I own this company. So you want your name to show that you own the company.
But what happens when you go?
Exactly. So it dies with you. It goes with you to the grave. But if you set up a trust and you set up a holding company, then the holding company has got other companies in between. Then the company lives beyond you. So when you are dying just as a body, and nothing more than just a body, but the business carries on. Do you understand? So what I'm trying to say is that most of us, when our rich entrepreneurs die, they die with the business.
Yeah. Ne? It's painful, and I try every day to preach what you're preaching. But I feel like it's only platforms like this that can actually make people understand our frustration, because we've been there, we've lived, and we did make it at some point in life. And now that, God has protected us up to this far, why can't we just impart the knowledge to somebody that might take it at an early age?
Exactly.
Because with us, it had to be through experiences and tough experiences.
Tough experiences. I mean, the businesses that I've chosen are very deliberate businesses. I didn't choose businesses where I say I want to make money. Trust me, that's not my way of choosing a business.
It's always passion first.
I'm always choosing a business that changes a certain situation.
Yeah.
For example, Izani Capital. Izani Capital provides short-term
Hey, but when I've got too many business cards of yours.
but they make a particular impact.
Yes.
So, for example, Izani Capital is very simple. Most entrepreneurs, they get tenders from government, they get opportunity from government, but the problem is that they don't have enough money to execute on that contract, on that purchase order, on that tender. So what we do, we give them short-term financing. So short-term financing for me is good, because in the past I used to invest in companies. Now the problem with investing in companies is that you invest in that company, you don't know when that company will ever make money. So but with short-term financing, the contract starts here, it ends here. So when you invest in it, you know that the guy does not have enough money or budget to fulfill that obligation of that contract.
I like what you guys are doing. The only issue that I have with that is when you get that job and you need to implement quickly, your processes of assisting us as business people takes longer.
I'm not other people, right? I don't know what other people do, but there are a lot of companies that are doing what I do in terms of purchase order financing. But me, I come in as your partner. So I go in, because the problem, other people, they do it in a structured way. They say, no, we take a 5%, we take a 10%. I don't do that. I come in, you say, okay, I've got this purchase order. I've got it, like during COVID, there was a company that needed to deliver certain
PPs.
deliverables, right? To a particular space. So we knew that it definitely does not have that money. We helped them deliver. We arranged the transportation, everything. He delivered, he invoiced. Then we went into a split with, okay, there are 3 parties involved here. It's 1, 2, 3. So you are the major party. You get the bulk. You give us the quarter each. You take half. So it's always based on a relationship, because we are there to help African entrepreneurs to fulfill obligations and not be limited by capital.
So I'm sitting at home and I'm listening to this brilliant man who has done businesses and who doesn't give up, and I'm thinking, what do I need to end up like him or better than him?
Okay, so I think for me, people always ask whether are entrepreneurs born or are they made, right? It's more like singing, right? You can have the natural gift and you can be exposed to something, right? But there are people who just don't have it in them to become entrepreneurs, and that's acceptable, right? So, but just know that when you take on an entrepreneurial journey, you're going to face hell. That one you must know. There's no beating around. So
Yeah.
I always say to some extent,
And it compromises your personal life as well.
there's a lot that get compromised. So when you take on that challenge of being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of sacrifices that you need to do, including your family. It's similar when you take on the life of a politician. That's my explanation. But you can decide to become a politician. It's not like exclusive to some people.
But
Same
wouldn't
as
somebody
you can
say,
decide.
but with a politician, money comes easy?
You see,
Because all you invest is emotions and time.
You see, that's what they think. But have you seen how many politicians have been killed out there for their ambitions? You know how many politicians have been backstabbed, sabotaged? So there's a lot that goes with being a politician. It's the same as people think about entrepreneurship. They think, with entrepreneur, you just make a deal, you make millions. It's not that easy. It involves a lot, because I will explain to close the session that we are dealing with, to say that there are 3 spiritual areas in the whole of life. Okay, so there's the body, the mind, and the spirit. Okay, now the body, mind, and the spirit speaks to everything else that you can explain. The body, mind, and spirit in so many things. You can say soul, which is the spirit. You can say, you know how it is. There's many explanations too, but I'm going to keep it very simple. So when you are attending things to life, okay, there are people who stay at the body spirit for most of their lives. The body spirit means that they use their body to deliver the outcomes. Whether it's the guys who are doing gardening, the guys who are putting pipes, and they use their physical body. The construction guys at the down there who are they are appointed at the body level. And
The makeup artist.
the makeup artists, they use their body. So you can only do so far. So you can only do one job at a time. So she can't split herself. She can't say, okay, I'm going to do makeup here, but I'm going to cut my body into 4 pieces so I can do makeup everywhere. So they are stuck in that one area, one space, and sometimes it can tire your body. That means there's a limited amount of money that you can make in that space at the body level. Now, when you move to the next level, which is the mind level, body, mind, and spirit, the mind level, that means at the mind level now you're using your mind, your brain. That means that you can now employ 4 or 5 people. You run maybe a saloon, you've got 5, 6 people and you're managing those people. If you're a site manager, there's all these construction people that are on the ground that you have to manage. So you make more money because you're responsible for all of them, because you're using your brain. That means you've studied. You've taken your thinking level to the next level. Okay? So that means that you're working at a mind level. That means that you can relax a little bit and let more people work for you. Right? Is that right? Right? So those are the managers. Okay. Now, the managed levels are people who have learned, they've got skills and all of that. Some of them are engineers, all of that. Then you've got the people now at the 3rd level, which is spiritual level, which is the soul level. Those are people that now have ideas. Now, these ideas, whether they come from divine or whatever, but they come to the world and they learn that in them. Now, they have to execute these ideas and bring them to the world. Now, those people will sell you something that you cannot see. That's it. You see, this field here, I'm picturing a mall. You're thinking, what mall? I can't see any mall.
Yeah.
But he can see something that you can't see, because he's working at a spiritual level. He's bringing something to life. Now, when he's bringing that thing to life, that means there's a lot of things he needs. He needs the people at the body level. He needs the people at the mind level. So he needs engineers. He needs the executors, because he has to bring this idea to life. So your Mark Zuckerberg brought a Facebook that did not exist in the world and brought it to life. Now, those people cannot be operating at a normal level. Those people are operating
But
at a
things like
spiritual
those
level.
affect what we were talking about, your personal life.
But
From families to
but remember,
relationships.
People think that you are crazy at that level.
Yes.
And most entrepreneurs are at that level. Most entrepreneurs reside at that level, and that's a level where people get shocked when those become billionaires, because that's where entrepreneurs and billionaires reside, because they employ the best of the best to make something come alive, and that's how billionaires are made.
Yeah. Okay. The vision for this book. I know it must be in offices, it must be in schools, in homes. How do they get it?
Yes.
And how much is it?
So again, back to my strategy, right? So the intention is not to make it available yet. Just like, you've got Gucci that's not all over the place and Louis Vuitton. So it does go for 600 for anyone, but you have to go online to get it. And we always have limited stock because we've kept stock for this ecosystem that we are working on. So we are printing on the ecosystem, targeted at EST managers, CSI managers, because they can get it to the public quicker, because it costs a lot of money to put a book that's got 400,
because it's
that's
thick.
got 400 pages.
This is thick.
So yeah, it's got 400 pages. So it's got enough to get you kickstarted, to inspire you, and also to give you enough thinking capability to start a business. Okay, so you have an opportunity for now to obviously contact our team. I think your team can share, but we want to make sure that it's all over Africa. That's the most important thing, because I've built this book and I've put this book together for the African child to have a better chance in starting their own successful business that goes generation after generation, so that you become the next Gucci, you become the next Louis Vuitton, you become the next Nike, you become the next what.
You mentioned in the book analyzing the South African business market.
Yeah.
And what would you say are your findings?
So,
because once you start mentioning those things, one would look at, brands like Drip and the problems they go through.
Yes.
But there used to be location culture, those kind of things. What are your findings?
Okay, so what we did in the book, we investigated.
Pick n Pay is a local brand.
Yes.
ShopRite is a local brand.
Yeah. So there's lots of opportunities.
Yes.
Remember, your issue is to solve a challenge. So let's say, what was Batu's trying to solve? Batu in his statement says, I realized that there's no African brand of sneakers. We're always wearing these American brands. So I want to create a brand that a young person can identify to and say, this is now made by us, for us. That was basically his ethos, right? Now, that thing requires a bit of skill, Batu, I don't know if you know Batu's history. He studied overseas and he did accounting. So he's got a very strong accounting behind him. So there are a certain number of skills that you need to acquire to give you strength to build your thing long term. That means that you have to continuously be educating yourself and learning. And that's what Batu does very well. Unlike other people maybe who thought they're just going to let their entrepreneurial nature take over. But you need a lot of technical skills. You need a lot of support systems. You need a lot of structure. You need a lot of systems to put in place to make it happen. So unfortunately, some of the entrepreneurs failed in those levels. Whether they failed with structure, they failed with systems, or they failed with strategy.
How important is education in terms of business? And education doesn't mean going to school, but it's understanding, the three S's that you just mentioned.
I'll explain education. I think this is very important, what I'm going to explain to you. Okay. So you must remember, education is historical data. Knowledge is current data. I want you to get that, right? So education tells you about how things were done and how you can do them better into the future, right? That's why I think it's difficult where you find like people are professionals and professors, and they don't have that entrepreneurial grit to sometimes achieve financial greatness. Let's put it that way. And I want to be very careful with the words that I use. While an entrepreneur is always seeking what's going to happen in the future. So you'll find that, for example, before I went into e-commerce, I used to travel a lot to Europe to go find out what's the latest on web development, what's the latest on e-commerce, so I would attend events like Viva Tech, Web Summit, all those events, and I attended fintech conferences in London because I wanted to know what is there in the front that I can bring to South Africa. Because I want to bring to South Africa what South Africa has got. I'll make the last example of what I'm trying to explain to you. before Vodacom came into the country, right, there was Telkom, right? So these two white boy entrepreneurs, they want to just go visit in London. When they arrived in London, they realized that there's a Vodafone here with a cell phone company. People are on cell phones, guys. But we're still stuck in the Telkom mode where we have physical phones that are, you have to be at home to receive your call. Now, these guys said, wow, this is amazing. They then approached Vodafone and said, Vodafone, would you be interested for us to really take this idea, this business to Africa and to South Africa? Vodafone said, yes, of course. Okay, can we go talk to a local phone manufacturer in South Africa, a provider? They then approached Telkom, say, Telkom, you are way behind. We need to take you forward. Can you give us the right and the mandate to strike a deal between you and Vodafone? Then guess what? They went. They combined Vodafone and Telkom, and they became, so Vodafone was a shareholder, Telkom was a shareholder, they became a shareholder in between. And they established what they call Vodacom. So it's Com from Telkom and Voda from Vodafone, and that's how Vodacom was established. And they became the shareholders of Vodacom. And today they are billionaires, and they've never spent a cent to achieve that. They just spent on travel money.
And great thinking.
And great thinking. So sometimes you overthink entrepreneurship.
Wow. Lebo, me and you can talk and talk and talk. I become passionate when somebody starts talking business. That's the reason you are here, was to discuss business, because sometimes people need to understand this history of what business people go through. People need to know. Like you said, it's educational.
And
so
sometimes you don't need all the resources in the world. You just need the right thinking. And that's what the book is about, is to channel you to the right thinking. Thank you, Arthur.
Yeah. Any last words?
Right thinking.
Right thinking.
Yeah.
That was Lebo Gunguluza for you. And please, let's not stop supporting entrepreneurship. And here's the book, The Art of Entrepreneurship by Lebo Gunguluza. Please go out there and support it. I'm buying myself a copy as of today. And I'm going to read it. I've been browsing through, and there are things that I've picked up that I still need to learn. Unfortunately, in business, you don't stop learning. You learn forever. Hence, he's done so many businesses. Lebo Gunguluza.
Thank you, Arthur. Mafokate. Well done with the show. It's a beautiful show, and I think it sets a tone for strong conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you.